Today, we are diving into a question that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it has some very, very real consequences. Can a piece of software, an algorithm, actually enforce fairness in the incredibly high stakes and, frankly, chaotic world of family court? We're going to look at a system called Family Court Guardrails that's trying to do exactly that.
And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? I mean, family law can sometimes feel less like a courtroom and more like a boxing ring, where communication itself is the main event. So what happens when you throw an automated referee into that ring? To even understand why that's needed, we've got to take a look at the battlefield itself.
You see, in the supercharged atmosphere of family law, communication is so much more than just talk. It can be a weapon. The way a story is told, or maybe what's strategically left out, can literally change the course of someone's life. And the data from this system shows us the most common ways the fight can get, well, dirty.
So one of the biggest issues, and this comes up all the time, is that people make these really serious claims with absolutely nothing to back them up. Someone can just throw out an accusation, and it creates this huge mess while everyone tries to figure out if there's any proof or if it's just a tactic to poison the well.
And it gets even messier because things get all tangled up. A legal filing might start with a verifiable fact, then smoothly slide into an unproven allegation, and then cap it off with a personal opinion. And the whole thing is presented as one solid truth. It creates this fog of war that's just incredibly hard for a judge to see through.
Then you've got the timeline problem. One document will say an event happened on a Tuesday, but then another one says it happened a week later. Sometimes the dates people submit are literally impossible. They just don't make sense. And this isn't just sloppy work. It can be a deliberate strategy to confuse everyone and grind the whole process to a halt.
But here's where it gets really serious. Beyond all the legal games, these communications can contain actual threats. They might have signals of self-harm, or worse, they could indicate a child is in immediate danger. In this digital battlefield, the stakes are life and death, and a human reviewer, they might not see that critical message for hours, or even days.
Okay, so in response to all of this chaos, this system was built. It's called Family Court Guardrails, and its entire reason for being is to bring some order, accountability, and most of all, safety to this environment by automatically checking every single message before it can do any harm. And this is really the core idea. It's not trying to replace judges or lawyers, not at all. It's all about creating a fair playing field. It makes sure that all the arguments have to follow a clear set of rules, so the information everyone is looking at is as clean, reliable, and truthful as possible. So I know what you're thinking. How does a digital referee actually work, right? How can a piece of software possibly understand all the nuance of a legal argument and human emotion? Well, it all comes down to a really sophisticated set of automated checks. The brain of this whole thing is a set of 10 core automated reasoning checks. And we're not talking about simple keyword searches here. A better way to think about it is like having 10 different AI specialists, and each one is trained to spot a very specific kind of problem, everything from a logical contradiction to an urgent safety threat. This gives us a little peek under the hood. So for example, if you submit something that totally contradicts what you said earlier, the system doesn't just flag it, it flat out blocks it and shows you the conflict. If you make a serious claim, it stops you and says, okay, where's the evidence? And most importantly, if the AI detects language that signals a threat or danger, it doesn't just block the message, it immediately escalates it to human reviewers who can step in right away. Now you probably saw that term NLI on the last slide. It stands for Natural Language Inference, and it's basically the secret sauce here. It's a type of AI that goes beyond just reading words. It actually understands meaning and logic, so it can figure out that I was out of town all week and I was at the meeting on Tuesday directly contradict each other. That's the kind of smart reasoning it's doing. So let's make this real. Imagine someone submits this message. His story keeps changing. He said the event happened on May 5th, but in this other document, he said it was May 15th. The NLI model instantly sees the conflict between those two dates and boom, the submission is blocked. The system essentially says, nope, you can't move forward until you clear up this contradiction.
Obviously, a system this powerful can't just be a black box making decisions all on its own. That would be a disaster. So a huge part of its design is about control and oversight. It's not just about what the AI blocks. It's about who has the keys to the kingdom. And, maybe more importantly, who is watching the watchers.
And listen, we're not talking about simple settings here. The system controls some really critical actions.
Things like unsealing a confidential document or approving what's called a break glass request. That's for emergency access to sensitive data. It can apply a litigation hold to make sure evidence doesn't get deleted, or it can even suspend a user's account. Every single one of these has huge consequences, so they are all incredibly tightly controlled and audited.
So who's actually doing all this watching? Well, this is key. The system has different dashboards for different professionals. An IT admin might be looking at security risks. A court clerk is probably focused on efficiency, looking for bottlenecks. And an attorney is monitoring the quality of the legal arguments. It creates this built-in system of checks and balances, which ensures no single person or perspective has total control.
All right, let's zoom out for a second. What does a system like this actually mean for the future? We've seen the problems it's trying to solve. We've seen the tech it's using to do it. But the implications, they go way beyond just a single court case.
When you really boil it all down, what's the ultimate vision? It's about elevating the entire process. The idea is that by forcing everyone to play by the same set of rules, you can raise the standard of evidence, you can make the courts way more efficient, and, most importantly, you can provide faster and more reliable protection for the vulnerable people who are at the very heart of these cases.
And that, of course, leaves us with one massive, lingering question. This kind of technology could make our legal system a whole lot fairer and safer. But it also means replacing an immense amount of trust in code. So the real challenge moving forward isn't just about building smarter algorithms. It's about building the human wisdom and the oversight needed to guide them. It's a question we're all going to have to answer. When an algorithm is the referee, who referees the algorithm?